Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the Three Topics Gamer, and I have a quick little sort of, I don't know, it's kind of a video game movie announcement. I just wanted to share my thoughts on it. So for those of you that do not know, it has been announced from IGN that apparently they want to do a reboot of the Resident Evil films. However, they want to tell a properly told origin story that seems to focus around the first two games. Now, they've already kind of released some detail in terms of the direction they want to go, and they've already announced the cast members of who will be playing each of the key figure characters. I just want to share my initial thoughts on it. So the idea of them rebooting the Resident Evil series and telling a more traditional story, that's something I've always been for, because when it came to the original setup of Resident Evil movies, the only one that I openly did like, and that was the first one, because I felt that they were telling a Resident Evil story, but they were telling it in its like own separate universe away from the games. I mean, if you want to do that, you want to keep them separate, and as long as you do a good job, that's an idea I can support. It's when they started incorporating Alice into the video games, or incorporating elements from the video games and characters from the video games, and then making Alice the main focus, which that should never be done. That's when I started just avoiding these films, and they just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and the portrayals of the characters were getting worse and worse and worse, and the stories kept getting worse and worse, and by the end I just didn't care. At that point they had kind of messed up everything, and so they're giving us a second chance to tell a proper Resident Evil story for the big screen. And as I look at these cast members in terms of the primary characters that they have, I have to say I really think this cast could very much work. I mean, they're all playing younger versions of these characters, but you know, you got Claire here. I think that could absolutely work. They got Chris. They got Jill. I think these casts could work. You know, Jill, and then they got Chris. I think the guy they got for Wesker, I think that could be standout, especially if they do Wesker right, because the one thing they absolutely screwed up in the original films was Wesker. That was just a poor portrayal of the character. Leon, you know, that very much could work, and William Birkin, which I'm a little bit curious about because we don't really see too much of William before he gets shot up and then injects the G virus into himself and then goes on a crazy rampage to mate with his daughter. I'm a little bit curious about exactly how they're going to tell the story. I mean, from what the director has said, he says he really wants to go back to the original first two games and recreate the terrifying visual experience that he had when he first played them, and tell a grounded human story about a small dying American town that feels both relatable to today's audience. The one thing I'm very much curious about in terms of tweaks, in terms of how they're going to tell the story, is are they going to keep the characters together? Because for those who have actually played the first two games, they very much keep Leon and Claire apart, and they really do that in the remakes. But for those of you who don't know, if you actually play the Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles of those first games, because there's sections that actually go over those events, they very much keep Jill and Chris and Leon and Claire together throughout the entire experience. So if they go with something like that, I think that concept could actually work. So you pretty much have, like, say, a 2.5 hour movie, spend like 1 hour and 15 minutes telling the Manson incident, and then the second hour and 15 minutes focusing on the Raccoon City incident. I think you can cut a few parts out, you can tweak a few characters, you can make things move at a slightly faster pace, and they have a good director and a good script. I think that a movie telling the parts of the Mansion incident and the Raccoon City disaster could very much work, but it very much depends on just the script and how you balance out the two characters. And at no point do I want Jill and Chris to interact with Claire and Leon. That did not happen in the games. It should not happen in this movie. And splitting it into two halves for one film, I think could absolutely work. But yeah, hopefully it'll be a hell of a lot better than what we got the first time around. But this idea is something I very much do support, and it apparently is going to be a theatrical film. It's not going to be like a Netflix series like they've been doing. Like they recently announced that they're doing another CGI movie for Netflix, which I'm absolutely pumped up for. So those are my thoughts on the announcement of the Resident Evil reboot in terms of the cast. I'm going to leave a link to the page. You can read it yourself and see if you want to go get a little more detail. Share your thoughts with me and everyone else in the comments down below. If you happen to enjoy this little video, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and press the subscribe button to hopefully enjoy more content moving forward. And make sure to have your notifications bell rung, because I've actually had a lot of people tell me that they aren't getting notifications when new videos are going up, so make sure that those are set. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.